Hello, writers. Welcome to this week's Writer's Tool Shed. We are on week 7 of the semester, and so let's read our example story. The Viking hall was loud and dirty. Warriors sat at the feast, their braided beards wagging up and down as they laughed and shouted and chewed. Oil and dirt covered everything except for the giant sword hanging on the wall in front of the high table. The blade was silver and spotless, shining in the firelight. Above the sword was a woven cloth showing a longboat sailing on the waves. All at once, a big man stood up from the table and walked up to the sword. He chuckled with glee as he grasped the handle. But a loud roar came up from the crowd, and someone threw a pot that hit the would be swordsman right in the head. He gave a cry of pain and sat down right on the floor, holding his head and blubbering like a baby. So, our first word is feast. I'm sure you're all familiar with this wonderful word where you get to go and eat a lot of food, eat a lot of fancy dishes. It's a big meal with lots of food meant to celebrate something. You have your Thanksgiving feasts, your Christmas feasts, your feasts for no other reason, but then you just want to be happy and eat lots of stuff. When you're writing with it, you can use the word feast. You also see the word banquet, which is often used to talk about a big meal. What's the difference? Banquet is something that's usually more formal, like you might hear about a wedding banquet or a graduation banquet, and it's having to do with some kind of ceremony. There's more ritual and ceremony involved. With a feast, then it could be formal, but it's usually more informal, where the food is the main event, and everybody just wants to stuff themselves as full as possible. Next word is spotless, and it's an adjective meaning having no spots, therefore perfectly clean. Spotless, without spots. And you can see the difference with this car window. Here, there are spots all over it. Here, it is spotless, perfectly clean and shiny. There's a subtle difference between spotless and flawless. You might have heard flawless before, where it's talking about, oh, it's perfect, it's flawless, not a single mistake. And flawless is more talking about like the perfection and how well it works or how well it's been done. But spotless is about being clean. Your homework might be spotless because it has no extra marks on it. That doesn't mean it's flawless, because you might not have gotten all the right answers. But if the homework is flawless, you might have gotten all the right answers. It might not be spotless because maybe you got some, I don't know, pudding on the paper or something. Next word is woven. It means made by weaving threads over and under. Woven, you can see the difference in this one and this one. The woven cloth is where the thread goes over, under, over, under, over, under. This one is knitted, which has to do with all these loops being made, loops within loops within loops. And so it's specifically talking about the woven pattern. Woven versus crisscrossed. You could say crisscrossed, which is still talking about that over under kind of pattern, but crisscrossed has more to do with like a small section. Like you might say 3 or 4 threads were crisscrossed on top of each other, but if you're talking about a wide area or a big piece of fabric, then woven is the more accurate word. Next one is glee, which is a noun. It means lively joy or delight, especially at a feast. This child is full of glee because they've got a present and they can't wait to open it. They know they've got something good. And so you can see their smile, full of glee. When you're writing with it, glee versus happiness. Happiness is more general, like you might be happy because it's a nice day outside. It's it's a less specific feeling. It's just like happy, hooray. But glee is a more intense, kind of like concentrated happiness because it's about something. I'm full of glee because I got a present. I'm full of glee because this is such good food. And it's that reason for it. The last one is blubber, which is a verb. It means to sob with lots of tears and noise. You can see Bart Simpson here is blubbering with the tears coming out and the sniffling and his mouth open, making crying sounds. Last week, we learned the word bawl, which is a similar word, which is a loud crying sound. But bawl, and you can hear it in the word too, it has more of the long vowel, the kind of a crying. Blubber is more of like a blub, 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 blub kind of a crying. So both loud, just different kinds of sounds.